Welcome one and all to the finale of my Fallout TV show builds. I've already made Lucy inside of Fallout 3 and Maximus inside of Fallout 4, so now it's time for Cooper Howard, more commonly known as the Ghoul, to appear inside of Fallout 76 for not the first time. Like, he's already in the game as an NPC thanks to the Burning Springs update, but here's my take on what a playable version of the character would be. The special stats for this build are 4 strength, 15 perception, 7 endurance, 1 charisma, 10 intelligence, 15 agility, and 14 luck. This does include 2 maxed out legendary special perk cards for both perception and intelligence. I will quickly show you all of my legendary perks I have on this character, but do know that they weren't anything I picked for this build, just what I always have equipped. As is usually the case with special loadouts, this one is mostly focused around ensuring we get all the perks that we want, but the high perception, agility and luck is intentional in making this build one that works great inside of VATS, with top tier accuracy, plenty of action points to spend on attacks, and crits that build incredibly fast. For perks with this build, I have them split into 3 different categories: major, minor, and convenience. The major perks are the ones which are really important. The minor perks are still nice, but can be switched out without drastically changing how the build plays, and the convenience perks are mostly just carry weight related, and are just here because I'm a hoarder. We'll start off with the major perks, as they're the most important. First up is Number Cruncher, a must-take perk for any build that I play, as it substantially boosts the damage of any weapon that you wield. Next up is Awareness, which gives you a boost to VATS accuracy which scales with the perception stat. As this is a build with maxed out base perception, that means you're getting the most out of this perk card. Grenadier is the final of major perception perks and will increase the blast radius of all explosives. Everything this build uses creates an explosion, and I'm pretty sure this perk made it so I was occasionally killing 2 enemies with just 1 shot, which felt so cool. Onto endurance perks now, where I'm back to using Ironclad, as this just makes your armour so much better at its job. Providing you wear a matched set of armour, this will make you drastically tougher and much harder to kill. Radiation Power is our other major endurance perk card, and with it maxed out, every attack we make deals an extra 20% damage. This is a Ghoul exclusive perk, but as you're playing as the Ghoul, this isn't going to be a problem. Just make sure to replenish your glow even when you don't get hit, and this perk will always be active. Skipping over Charisma, we now move on to Demolition Expert, which improves damage with all of our weapons. A nice simple damage boosting perk, but who doesn't like to deal bonus damage? Our first major agility perk is Evasive. This is a favourite of mine within 76, giving a chance to dodge attacks entirely and take no damage. This scales with agility, which is maxed out, so you actually have a decent chance of this to proc. A more fun perk now, Gun Fu makes it so you switch to the next available target after getting a VATS kill, and get a damage boost when you do so. This is not only a great perk for rapidly clearing crowds of enemies, but also fits in so well with the Ghoul being this character who we see fight against multiple opponents at once several times during the show. To mix in with this idea, I also selected the Adrenaline perk, which gives a 10% damage boost for every enemy you kill. Kill streaks don't last forever, but in large crowds this perk can make it so you start dealing double damage for a short time. Seeing as we use that so much, the Action Ghoul perk comes in handy for making it so we get action points back faster. Honestly, this is one card which could probably do with being leveled up higher, but even just 1 rank makes all the difference. Final of the major agility perks is Hyper Reflexes, which I did have maxed out. This provides a flat 20% chance to avoid all damage, so long as your glow is high. Just make sure to keep tapping your Toxic Goo button in order to have your glow topped up to max. A perk which I didn't intend to be a major one, but which worked ridiculously well with this build was Ricochet. I got this mostly for a bit of flavour, to show the Ghoul as this character who can survive in near-death situations time and time again. But as I was playing, I found this perk kept making it so enemies shot themselves instead of me, which was such a fun feeling. Why wouldn't I take this perk? Final of the major perks is 40 Spots, which boosts weak point damage. It's pretty easy to target the head of most enemies in VATS, and this perk makes it much easier to get one-hit kills. On to minor perks now, where I'm going to start off in Perception with Ground Pounder. This perk improves reload speed and hip-fire accuracy for your weapons. Neither of these are essential boosts to have, but it's just nice to reload faster and be able to hit enemies without aiming down sights. Tank Killer makes it so your firearms ignore a percentage of the enemy's armour. This is basically just an indirect damage perk, and one that is especially useful in Burning Springs where everything seems to be armoured up. Crackshot makes it so your guns get more range and accuracy while aiming down sights. This is great for when you want to pick off an enemy from a distance, rather than getting up close. Skeet Shooter is a perk clearly meant to be used with shotguns, but I decided to try it out with this build, as a boost to accuracy is never a bad thing to have. And final of the perception perks is Eye of the Hunter. This provides a significant boost to VATS accuracy, but only at long distances. Honestly, not an ideal perk for this build, but it did work nicely with my secondary weapon, and as someone who's been playing as a sniper, I just couldn't give up on long range combat entirely. Glowing Gut is up next and makes it so we take more rads from eating and drinking. Toxic Goo is pretty much the best way to refill your rad meter, no matter how many people try to tell me that switching to a gamma gun and shooting the floor is better than just pressing one hotkey button. Gunslinger Expert gives a boost to weak spot damage that stacks with Onslaught ranks. This isn't actually a particularly worthwhile perk with this build, unless you also have a Furious Legendary mod on your weapons, but it wouldn't be a bad company Sarge Fallout 76 build if I didn't mess up the Onslaught mechanics somewhat. The Enforcer perk card is one that provides a stagger chance and bonus limb damage to all small guns. While the limb damage is nice, the stagger is what I love, and it really helps to make it feel like your weapons are making a serious impact. The Better Criticals perk in the luck tree can be a little pricey, but it will double the damage of critical hits inside of VATS. With such a high luck stat, you can be performing crits pretty often, so this perk will get a lot of use. A perk that should hopefully get no use at all is Serendipity. This is a safety net for the build, one that makes it so you should be able to avoid any damage that comes your way when at low health. With a decent amount of endurance and a maxed out glow bar, this should rarely come into play, but it's still nice to have for if things go horribly wrong. Likewise, the Junk Shield perk card isn't all that important, just boosting your defensive ratings based on how much junk you're lugging around. Honestly, not super important, but I think this was just a case of me having one more point of luck than I knew what to do with. Penultimate minor perk is Glowing Criticals. This is just like the Better Criticals perk card, but half as good. Like, literally half. Not only is it a 50% boost rather than 100, but it also requires you to have high glow. Honestly, not a great perk, but it does stack with better criticals to help make your crits truly deadly. Final minor perk is Wild West Hands. With this you have a chance to instantly reload your weapon when firing the last round, which is so insanely good to have. Obviously it's not something that can be relied on, but it is another favourite of mine, especially for builds like this which use low ammo count weapons. For the convenience perks, I won't be giving a breakdown like I did with the other two categories, as these aren't all that important for the build itself, but do help with carry weight, XP gain, and so on. These perks are Travelling Pharmacy, Bandolier, Through Hiker, Inspirational, Batteries Included, Gunsmith, and Good with Sword. That's all the perks covered, so let's now move on to equipment. The main weapon for this build will of course be the Dom Pedro pistol. In order to unlock this weapon, you need to reach rank 55 on the scoreboard. Unfortunately, if you want to unlock any mods for it, you need to reach rank 70 something, and I've only managed to hit the mid 60s, hence everything on my weapon being standard. I was still able to put a few legendary mods on though, and here I gave it some actual thought to make the weapon be the best it could be. Aristocrats gives me a 50% damage boost all the time, Explosives gives some nice area damage to the weapon, as well as another damage boost on its own, and VATS Optimize works great with such a VATS focused build. The Ghoul does use a secondary weapon in the show by the name of Mare's Leg. This is a sawn-off lever action rifle, which you can make a sort of equivalent of within 76. Just take a lever action rifle and mod it to be as short as can be. You can't switch it to .308 rounds like his one in the show apparently uses, but besides this, you can make it pretty much the same. Here I stuck with legendary mods I already had on the weapon, but having explosives was very handy as I was already building around that with my main gun. In addition to these two weapons, don't forget to stock up on a whole bunch of grenades. As the build already has a lot of explosive synergy, these thrown explosives will be especially deadly, and can be great for softening up targets. In terms of armour, I was just wearing the same old stuff I've had equipped for the past few years. I've been holding out for a new armour set to be released for a while now, as I keep being certain that a new really good one is just around the corner. One day I'll actually sort my armour out properly, but today is not that day. What actually matters is the apparel you wear, as you want to look as much like the Ghoul from the TV show as possible. A while back, the West Coast Duster outfit was a thing that Fallout First subscribers could pick up, and it quite literally is just the outfit that the Ghoul wears in the show. But I'm not paying for First, so had to make do with some standard stuff instead. For me, this was the Cowboy Duster and Cowboy Hat. It's the next closest thing, and gives the same sort of vibe to the character. In terms of playstyle, this is primarily a close-range VATS-based build. You can easily clear a crowd of standard enemies in a single round of VATS if the situation is right, and when it comes to tougher opponents, you want to be spamming crits on them as often as you can in order to wear their health down. The Dom Pedro has pretty solid damage, even without me having any of the receiver mods unlocked, but it also doesn't have great range as standard, so you do need to get in pretty close for it to have any chance to hit inside of VATS. Fortunately, the lever action rifle can work quite well at distance, while still feeling pretty similar to our main weapon. Personally, I actually preferred the lever action rifle as it gave me this extra range, while not really sacrificing anything important. I'm sure that once the Dom Pedro gets all the mods unlocked, this will change, and then the two guns will give you a more solid mid to long range option, and then a devastating close to mid range option to work with. The VAT system is really the crux of this build, so the more you use it, the stronger you will feel. It also adds into the cinematic quality of it all, especially when you get Gun Fu to trigger and let you take down a whole group of raiders in just a few seconds. For the role-playing side of things, I figured that doing bounty hunts made the most sense here, and has become my standard routine anyways. I did find that this build wasn't quite as adept at turning in bounties as my bounty hunter build, especially as I now have to get in close. It was still more than manageable to take on any bounty target though, and we still seem to be at the point that headhunts get ganged up on by half the server, so you don't have to fire a single shot there. Overall, this build did feel pretty good to play, even as someone who tends to prefer manual aiming over using VATS. The character dishes out high damage at a pretty fast rate, and has quite a low skill ceiling thanks to using the VATS system to line up your shots. We've got a fair few perks to help with survivability too, so being up close to enemies isn't quite as risky as it would normally be, and you should be able to survive many unfair fights, just like Cooper Howard has himself. That's going to be it for the build. If you enjoyed it, then hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Fallout builds in the future. Let me know in the comment section what you would have done differently here, or what the best mods are for the Dom Pedro if you've already finished the scoreboard. And as always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.